After we went through our first year, we looked at the electric bill, we looked at the rent, we realized we were not going to make enough money. So we had to raise the rent. And that was what started a lot of the rift with the West Virginians, that we were going to have to raise the rent when they'd had camping the same way for so many years.
You're getting $1,300 to $1,500 bills for electric. And West Virginia has decided that they're going to run on coal for at least 2040. You don't have a choice when it comes to electric and water. And so, you can't decide to just not have electric for that month. We're seeing businesses lock up, businesses are closing.
I have a deep love for West Virginia. It's a place that I've spent a lot of my life. And honestly, I should probably have died there several times. But it's always been a tragic thing to truly understand West Virginia, to understand the people who live in Appalachia and call it home. Because it's a place of rampant abuse and oppression. It's a sacrifice zone. The resources are worth more than the people. And the state itself isn't ran by the government. And it's not ran by the people, it's ran by corporations. And it always has been, really, or at least for over 100 years it has been. You have to keep in mind that an increase in the power bill of 17% a year just for grid maintenance and to offset friction is ruinous to most people who live in West Virginia. The average household income is $60,000 after taxes. Most families bring home net $4,000 maybe. And when you have these constant price increases, especially in impoverished communities, it's a dream killer. The hope and dream of having your own bakery, the hope and dream of having your own small business can get wiped out just because the energy company decides to up your rate. And what do? Where can you go? Really, I mean, it's a flawless corporate shakedown of an entire state's population. And West Virginia is the second poorest state in the nation. But like I said, this is the case because what you experience in West Virginia is really cartel behavior when it comes to the government and corporations. And it's not that the government failed West Virginia, because the government's never actually represented West Virginia, because the corporations have always been able to exert so much pressure on the government, simply saying that if you try to regulate us, if you try to pin us down, then we're just going to pick up and take our jobs elsewhere. And that means that the government has to capitulate, because there's no other jobs or industry that actually is really thriving in West Virginia. So if you keep the options low, you have a very desperate, cheap labor force. And the thing is, this cheap labor force is used generation after generation. They don't want you baking bread. They can ship that into one of the corporate grocery stores. They want you bankrupt. They want you renting a small house owned by a property management company from outside the state. And it's heartbreaking. It truly is, because some of the best people I've ever known, the people who mean the most to me to this day, are people that I knew when I lived in West Virginia. And I've been all over this world.
14 months ago, we opened up this small gallery here, which is only 1,900 square feet. We just love it here. But the problem is we're getting really beat up with the high energy costs. This small gallery, I keep the temperature down kind of low, and I'm still paying $700, $800 a month. The power company, I've called several times, and I told them, look, I'm a senior citizen, I'm 71. I'm an artist and I have a gallery and I'm trying to help the community. Is there any program that can help us to help our community? She says, I'm sorry, we really don't have that.
And your rent for the commercial space here is how much?
It's only $600. It's $150, $200 less than my power bill.
100 years ago, they'd pay you in a fake company script. Now they just let you have real money, but the energy company steals it all, just by keeping the rates high enough that you can't even keep the fridge running. People wonder why small towns in America are dying, and there's myriad reasons for that, but this past year, especially nationwide, you've seen a dramatic increase in energy costs being passed to the consumer. With the amount of data centers that are being thrown up all over the country and moving those into West Virginia as well, a state where the people are already being crushed by energy prices, it's essentially going to make an entire population functionally insolvent. So you can have companies like Appalachian Power push the bill up 17%, but the thing is you're not going to have anybody be able to pay it, and the government's not going to be able to subsidize it. So it puts the people in a position where they're living in abject poverty, or they just have to really move their mindset into accepting a third world state where you don't have power. And a lot of people ask why they do this, and it's simply because they can. This is what unhinged capitalism really is at its finest. You want an idea of just how Machiavellian and just how rapacious corporations can be, or capitalism unregulated can be, just simply need to look at West Virginia. Because there's no other option for people living there. You can't exactly find different power. Most people can't afford to go solar, and if you're a small business, that's just not an option. It feels like a legal mafia living there, because what are you going to do? And as I said, these companies and corporations, they're not localized to West Virginia. Their headquarters are outside. They're in Manhattan. They're in San Francisco. But the state legally forces the poor citizens in America to subsidize a failing energy grid just so some utility CEO, which the nation is now allowing to be privatized, to buy a new home in Boca. It's not a real business. It's slavery.
The inflation crisis was caused by massive overspending and escalating energy prices, and that is why today I will also declare a national energy emergency. We will drill, baby, drill.
I find it fascinating that, they go and they give him a trophy saying he's the friend of a coal miner. Our coal miners are dying of black lung. They don't have clean water. They can't feed their children. Their schools are closing. Their electric bills are through the roof. And they can't afford groceries. Where's the trophy for us?
We are energy rich. I mean, they come through, tore up our land. We kept hearing, we're going to do the coal mines, the coal mines, the coal mines. I love the current administration, but what about the coal mines? If they're digging, baby, digging, I don't see it here.
This is what bothers me most about the dynamic between corporate America and Appalachia or West Virginia. Just they wrapped coal dust in an American flag just so that you thank them for the black lung that you get. And the elites, they need a cheap and disposable workforce to walk into those mines so they can conflate industrial labor with patriotism. They convinced the working class that dying for a corporation's quarterly earning reports is paying your dues to be an American citizen. That's what true pride is. And that not just you, but your son and your son's son is going to go and follow in their footsteps. And they're going to be proud to serve America in the best way that they can by providing cheap coal, all at the risk of their health, dying 10 or 20 years earlier than they should. They convinced them that what they're doing is a noble sacrifice. But even if you demand clean water in West Virginia, they're going to call you a communist. Look at Parkersburg, West Virginia. DuPont treated the Mid-Ohio Valley like it was a disposable laboratory. They pumped so much C8 Teflon into the water, poisoning the drinking water for tens of thousands of people to protect billions in global revenue. They did this because they figured out that it was going to be mathematically cheaper to spend $5 million in propaganda to convince people that the EPA is evil rather than spend $500 million putting scrubbers on a smokestack. These corporations, they take advantage of the people of West Virginia because historically the people of West Virginia and Appalachia have been used and abused for the resources that are there. The truth is West Virginia is a prison. And the people of West Virginia are the inmates, but they're also the prison guards. They're the victims, but they're the ones that are perpetuating through their acceptance of this supposed reality that's been inculcated into their culture for over 100 years.
I've had to close down 2 stores because I can't afford rent. You have a gas bill, you have an electricity bill, you have water bill, you have sewer bill, okay? I can't afford all that plus pay $2,000 a month rent. Your utility bills are more than your rent is. And, you know, we are a red state. I don't want us to be the left behind state anymore, I guess I should say.
We're going to stop there. This is a video by the Associated Press. And like I said, I wanted to give it a little more explanation to the people out there, because it's not just pity that the people of West Virginia or Greater Appalachia actually need. They need political action. And they need people to stand up for them. They need strong leadership. And what they really need is just help. They need help to break away from the kind of paradigm and dynamic that they've been trapped in for over a century. Because the evolution of energy extraction in West Virginia means to destroy the state. This is wild and wonderful West Virginia. West by God, Virginia. The thing is, the abuse of the people isn't limited to energy. Now, we all know the great opiate crisis that really hit America over the past 20 years. Because once Wall Street realized that the mountains were empty, they could strip mine the people of West Virginia. There's towns in West Virginia where the people aren't even recognizable anymore. They're just shells of themselves walking around, because that's what happens when the physical labor isn't needed anymore, because we're not going to be using coal as much. Wall Street needs to find a way. So what they did is they started to extract the wealth from the very health of the people. Look at Kermit, West Virginia. A town of just 400 people, but in a 2-year period, they flooded the town with 9 million highly addictive hydrocodone pills. That's 22,500 pills for every man, woman, and child that's in that town. It's not a healthcare failure. This is just a way for Wall Street to extract more wealth from the people. It's a way to continue the abuse when the original mechanism to do that disappeared. It's an evolution of the same oppression that's been there since the 1800s. What's happening in West Virginia is more important than just what's in the video, because it's a canary in the coal mine. I know. But this is exactly what happens when you let the corporation become the government. Because corporations act without morality. They care about the bottom line. They care about the stakeholder. They care about the CEO in the boardroom. They don't care about the family. Every election season, as a veteran, I understand how this feels, because the veterans are neglected and used and abused constantly. There's so many veterans on the streets right now, but every time election season comes around, they'll go to stadiums and they'll have the veterans stand up and everybody will give them applause. So they will feel special. They'll say, the veterans support me. But as soon as the elections are over, as soon as those people get into office, they don't care about the people anymore. That's exactly what West Virginia is. They'll talk about the coal miners. They'll talk about coal. They'll talk about how important it is for the entire economic system in America. But as soon as election season's over, they're going to gut all the regulations that these people's families have been fighting for generations. And the thing is, the propaganda is so strong that the very people that are fighting for these regulations to be taken away are the same people who are going to be suffering black lung because of it. You can't fall for the photo ops. You can't fall for the propaganda. West Virginia needs to embrace who they are, the wild and wonderful people of West Virginia, just some of the strongest, most durable people that America has ever seen. But it's time that they decouple from the company store. West Virginia needs clean, renewable energy. Even though it's the coal capital of the country, that is exactly what they need, because the people can't afford to use the very coal that they pull out of the ground. They need a decentralized, off-grid local network that the people can use. That way the utility monopolies can't just raise up the cost of electricity and bankrupt your local bakery. The truth is, the system sees you as disposable, so you have to act accordingly. You cannot rely on the government, especially in West Virginia. The people of West Virginia know this. They know that the corporations and the government are completely predatory when it comes to how they handle the people from these small towns. And it was like when Bernie Sanders went there a few months ago. Most of these people have sentiments that lean very strongly to the left, but as you can see, the propaganda that conflates corporate culture with patriotism, self-sacrifice with patriotism, sacrificing your health with patriotism, that keeps you in poverty, generational poverty. It's a very hard thing to break, because it takes a level of self-awareness that most of these people just don't have time to really dig into. And as someone who loves West Virginia and the people of West Virginia, as someone who's spent so much of his life in West Virginia, I just want it to be better for the people, because the people deserve that. And the people need to remember that they're fighters and that they've been fighting for themselves for a long time, and not to give in to the ancestral enemy of their own people. Food for thought, everyone. Take care.